extra months pausing the project to identify and explore other options for location. And then in 2026, we continued the site, the design and the site evaluation, and did a public hearing on setting bond funding. So that's our timeline of the project. The next one is, this is our task force that we have. So we have our public safety task force, which is made up to 10 to 12 people of council and staff. It's subject experts, and I highlight that because that's who's sitting at the table as the subject experts of police and fire to help guide this building and to determine the needs. And on there, we go back one, Chris. When you'll see the two below that, so we had our core group that led the public safety task force, and then we broke it down even further into both of those operations to make sure that we had all staff from police and fire provide input and design needs that they get addressed from there. So this was staff-led with our consultant, and again, I can't say that we haven't had enough subject experts that have been very helpful on making sure that we have the right, that everything is the right pieces for these facilities as we move forward. And the next slide, the ongoing engagement through this process. This has been a transparent, open process. We've had over 20 study sessions and council agenda items. We've advertised it, or we've promoted our work in news releases and news articles. We've invited the media to come through and tour these facilities. We've held 2 open houses here in February. We've held numerous additional council meetings and study sessions here in the last few weeks. We have a website with a lot of information on it. We're sharing all our slide decks and putting that information out there. So the information is there if people want to see it. This slide deck will be available, if it's not already, on the website too, on our construction, our project page, along with on the agenda. With that, I'd like to turn it over to our fire staff to just introduce your operations and tell a little bit about what you do.
So thank you again, Council, for allowing us to have this time to come together and discuss our current fire hall. My name is Charlie Sikora. I'm a fire equipment operator at the City of Owatonna. I'm 12 years into the fire department, 20 years in, 12 of those full-time ranks. So our current fire hall, as we all know, we've said it multiple times, built in 1906. That fire hall, or the city, made a commitment to the citizens of Owatonna by forming a full-time ranks in 1920. Our fire department became a full-time department. So in 1920, we made that commitment and currently still run our operation out of that fire hall. Today we have 8 full-time members who work 24-hour shifts, 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. That fire hall is not only their place of work, it is their residence. We spend a considerable amount of time there, both working and living. We also have a minimum of 2 full-time on at all time protecting and serving the citizens of Owatonna 365 days a year. So there's always 2 people ready to go with our full-time members. And right now, we're sitting at about how many paid on call here? 21. About 21 paid on call members that also serve in a capacity, as we call them. You can go to the next slide, Chris. Oh, go back one. Thank you. We're still working on this. So originally that building was built to house horses and horse-drawn fire apparatus. Believe it or not, there were horses in our building. I think we have truly used that building to its greatest extent when it was built in 1906. We continue to use that building as efficiently as we can. Currently our apparatus sit in an addition put on in 1997. And we are busting at the seams with that. We just had ladder testing today, which is an annual test of all our ladders. We had to remove apparatus out of our atme to allow that testing to take place. Do we make it work? Absolutely. You put firefighters anywhere in the world, they'll make it work. We're just saying this building no longer fits the modern fire service and what we would like to see our department have as we continue to move forward.
Charlie or Eric, will you just give us a quick rundown of what it looks like to be a firefighter? That call comes in, what happens? Can you tell a quick story of what a goal?
What our day looks like? Yeah, for sure. So like Charlie said, it's a minimum 2-man duty crew or female. So that crew would respond immediately out of the station, then we would page back, on-call staff if needed. So that could be a day squad, so they're split into 2 squads, a day squad or a night squad, depending on what we need for staffing, depending on the call, so.
So you go out for a fire call, you go to not only residents here, where do you serve?
You're like 207 square miles of Steele County, so just about 3/4 of Steele County is Owatonna Fire Protection District.
So your equipment includes rural.
Rural fire apparatus, yep.
So you go out for a fire and you come back, what does your event look like when you come back? What are some of our needs?
Yeah, decon for sure, and I think we'll get into that a little later.
Okay.
We have pictures later of that process, we'll get into that later.
Thank you, Chris.
I'll just give a high level. Again, we've seen these in previous presentations, but lower level, we've got Skywarn, CERT, using space, storage primarily, and then training. And this is the primary training area along with the apparatus bay. There is no dedicated training room in terms of practicing scenarios of pulling bodies through, working through scenarios with gear on. So that primarily happens in the basement. Main level, again, that's where the apparatus bay was added on. Busting at the seams, as Charlie noted. Limitations with the alley and the adjacent building to the south. Again, doesn't allow some of the bigger, the 2 engines and the ladder truck to come through the back and pass through with radius, meaning that they have to come off a main or cedar and back into the facility, which is inefficient. Staff is primarily located on the main level. What little decontamination sequence exists on this level with the laundry in the shop. It's not even a dedicated contamination area. And gear storage is in the apparatus bay. Second level is primarily where the firefighters live, again, the dorms, and then laundry, kitchen, dining space, and recreation space. Third level, emergency operations center for the city is the large conference room, and then fitness area with the remaining area, and some training scenarios with the old balcony that exists on this level. The site, again, corner of the road here, sits at 2 intersections, which isn't ideal by any means. You have to be somewhat mindful of traffic coming through regardless if the sirens are blaring. And then there's one little section of parking here that's dedicated for staff to park at. Otherwise, it's find it where you can on the road and respond for the on-call personnel. Again, training, the highlighted red areas with the arrows just designate where some of these pictures were taken. There is a training room. It is probably the minimum size that you would want for the department size as it is right now. And it is lacking some technology upgrades as well.
Can I just chime into that?
Sure.
One? It is actually standing room only if we get a full turnout for trainings. There's people, there's people that have to stand during training if we have a full turnout. So it's getting to be undersized already.
Staff areas, again, highlighted in the red areas, but we've carved out spaces of existing space that was meant for storage and laundry to become new offices as the staff has grown over time. Emergency Operations Center, again, up on the 3rd floor, as the diagram shows. That area has experienced quite a few water leaks over the years with the original historic plaster crumbling, and is a constant state of decay. The room itself does not have current technology, and the acoustics are really poor when you get 5 or more people in the room. And the room is meant to be a muster area for when critical areas such as flooding in the past have occurred in town. Downstairs basement serves CERT currently in Skywarn, and again, it's basement space, so it smells like a basement, but it's space that's carved out that they're able to utilize right now.
Chris, if you just stay there for a minute, I would just want to point out that that 3rd floor of that fire hall was remodeled, or was actually finished off as the city's EOC, I believe in 2007, maybe, if not, I can look that up. That is not ideal for an EOC on the 3rd floor of a 100-year-old building. So that is currently the only EOC for the city of Owatonna. And it's not a hardened structure, it's on the 3rd floor of a 100-year-old building. So it's not a functioning EOC as we see it right now.
So Eric or Chris, will you explain what an EOC and why it's important and why it's important to have it hardened?
Is that where you're going, Mr. President?
Yes, please.
So an EOC is an emergency operations center, and that allows, in the event of natural disaster or any other kind of disaster in the city of Owatonna, a flood, a tornado, that allows all the organizations to come together and work as one team, or we call it a unified command. That include Owatonna Police Department, representatives from the utilities, representatives from the state. Allows them to get together and have all the information under one roof in one central spot to make the decisions that are needed to deal with that emergency. So EOC would stand for Emergency Operations Center.
Storage, as we've noted, lacks throughout the building. The basement area, spaces are carved out where training isn't occurring for storage. Everything in red on those diagrams represents areas that have been carved out, including gear storage within the apparatus bay, which we'll speak to in future slides.
So I just need to go back to the EOC. Will you speak to the harden of what that means and why it's required for the EOC?
Yeah, so the 2020 building code actually added a requirement for EOCs moving forward that they need to meet ICC 500 standards, which means you need to be able to withstand a category E4 tornado. That means that the building needs redundant systems so that if power goes out in town or power goes out to the building, the EOC itself is still operational with bathrooms. Staff can continue to work in there, power, plumbing, everything you need to function continues to operate. The apparatus bay and support spaces, again, areas in red, so we've noted that that is not large enough currently. There is a small garage off the back, but that cannot house all the equipment as well. There is a gator that the department owns. The gator's in there, the trailer is not. The trailer is stored over at Public Works, and when that trailer is needed, someone has to go over to Public Works, grab the trailer, come back, load the gator up. Again, not necessarily ideal, but it's what's possible with the main equipment that's required in the apparatus bay. And it
Chris.
saves a lot.
I'll just chime in, that trailer's actually stored out across from the jail.
Sorry.
So it's like 7 minutes to get out there on a good day.
Living quarters, again, in a modern station, you have one firefighter per room. It doesn't necessarily mean the room isn't shared, but one firefighter sleeps in there at one time, getting one bed. We've got 3 rooms in the current facility where either 2 to 3 firefighters are sharing a room and can actually be in there at the same time, which means someone may be coming off duty, someone might be on duty. That means if the person that's on duty needs to wake up, you're waking both people up, which isn't an ideal and necessarily healthy situation for the person who's trying to rest.
So I'll chime in if I can, Chris. So this kind of steps into our decontamination. I know a lot of people are wondering why do firefighters need so many bathrooms? Why do they need so many showers? Well, this is our process right now for decontamination. When Eric and myself are on shift today and we pull a house fire and we go in and do work. Right now, our only means to clean ourselves of the carcinogens is to go up to our 2nd floor living area and take a shower. So that works fine if Eric and I are on shift, or if I'd be on with one of the female firefighters, she has her own bathroom. Now, if we have a shift where there's multiple people exposed to that need decontamination, they need a shower to get those things off their skin before they get absorbed. We have 2 showers, and every one of them goes through the same area Eric and I live in and sleep in. And in order for me to go to that shower, I go to my bedroom, which is the picture on the top left, and I take off all that clothing that has been exposed, and I lay it in my room. And now I sleep in that same room at night. So that's what's the importance of having a decon area, if you look at the prints down on that second or that main level, that allows not only the full-time ranks, but our paid on-call men and women that are coming from businesses to decon before they get back in their vehicles or back to work without carrying all that stuff through. So we just want to clarify that bathrooms, are they important? In the normal world, a bathroom's a bathroom. To us, it's the only way to get that stuff off us. And right now, the only way to do it is to go upstairs to our living quarters and wait if there's more than 2 people to take a shower. Go ahead.
Mr. Sikora,
Yes, sir.
and I agree with the decontamination. New fire station is built. Walk us through your decontamination. What is different, what you do in a properly equipped?
You can hold off for a couple slides. We'll
You're
get to
killing me right now.
We got a diagram that'll show that, and then walk through.
I can tell you right now, President Rainey, but the diagram's gonna allow it to be a lot clearer.
Okay, thank you.
Can we go with the light so we can see the slides? Thank you. Or then pull the shades.
How's that, better?
Better.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you. Magic.
Technology.
Oh, that's fancy.
He said, "Did you put the slides before we just-"
Slide deck's on, but.
Oh.
Slide.
Yeah, go ahead, thank you.
So just quick summary, won't go into super detail about all of the spaces, but this is the overall comparison of the existing facility to the new facility. Again, as you can see, we're severely lacking quite a few spaces, one being the apparatus bay, which makes up a good portion of some of that lacking space, but also some of the spaces that have been noted in the living quarters and decontamination and storage of equipment. Current fire station challenges, again, built in 1906, added in 1997, but limited space for modern equipment, health and safety concerns, training limitations, insufficient firefighting support spaces, and aging infrastructure and ongoing repairs. Because it is an old building, there are quite a few maintenance items that are just ongoing and have been put off during this process in hopes that a new facility will put those on the shelf and we won't have to address those.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'd like to introduce myself, mostly for the benefit of our viewers, because you know who I am. My name is Jeff Mondale. I'm serving as the Chief of Police. I've been with the City of Owatonna Police Department since June of 1995. And I'd like my partner to introduce himself.
Thanks for having me. Josh Sorensen. I've been with the city since February of 2004, so I just started my 22nd year this year. Currently a captain of the Detective Bureau for this department.
I think I gotta bring back history just a little bit here. In June 1995, I started my career at 135 West Main. It's the former law enforcement center. It housed Sheriff's Office, City Police Department, Dispatch, and the jail. We certainly outgrew our space. The jail moved out to their current facility in probably 2003. But the Sheriff's Office and the Police Department moved operations over to our current location, 204 East Pearl. So just City Police and Sheriff's Office services were housed out of this facility. As you would know, it is designed as a bank. It's approaching about 60 years old. Not as old as our partners in the fire service. But like the fire department, Mr. Sikora said that they've made good use of the building, and I would say we have too. It's been through many designs, remodels, changing places with how the leaders back then wanted to use the space. And then stepping back into history a little bit more, on the timeline that Ms. Tuma showed us, where the city began to look at this study in 2019, the police department, our leadership in the police department then began looking at building designs in 2007. I'm not sure if anybody was sitting on the council at that point in time. It didn't get a lot of traction. I don't think the city government had an appetite for a new station in 2007. They continued that joint venture with the Sheriff's Department. until they moved out in March of 2025. However, new leadership came in, Chief Hiller came in 2010, and he tried to introduce the building in 2012. And didn't get a lot of traction because at that point in time, the city was sustaining a lot of flooding in the southeast neighborhoods. So a lot of resources and money was spent to restore that area. So what I'm trying to say is the police department has been looking at a building ever since 2007. Our current facility, as it's designed as a bank, it certainly still has remnants of a bank. We have vaults throughout our station. We actually use some of the space, as you'll see later in some slides, as our training space. It's also designed as an office space. It was former KRFO radio, and they had some other office space housing out of that area. The city, the building itself is definitely in need of some maintenance needs. It's got some very serious, significant, costly maintenance infrastructure needs that need to be addressed in the very near future. So, as we've been saying, do we want to put good money at bad? As it's never really been designed for police department and police operations, we've really made it work over the years. It has several deficiencies that pose many operational challenges for safety and health issues for our staff, and how we interact with our victims, witnesses, and our offenders.
So just the existing facility, how it laid out or currently lays out, again, yellow signifies areas that were either used to be occupied by the Sheriff's Department or are currently occupied by 911 services. The blue have always been occupied by the police, along with the gray areas were shared use and now currently just police use in those areas. So the yellow areas, again, were Steele County storage. This area has become tactical training, as you'll see in the future slide. Storage area, police have been able to acquire some of that space for some additional storage needs. Main level is primarily where administration and patrol exists on the west side of the building. The east side of the building historically, again, was the Sheriff's Department. A few spaces have been made use there for some conference space and cool down space or two that is lacking in the building. But due to the configuration of the spaces and no remodels as of right now, inefficient use of that space is current. The garage in the back really serves as the sally port for this building. One item that is severely lacking, I wouldn't call this necessarily a secure sally port. And then the one interview, the room that exists in the building isn't directly connected to that space. So officers are bringing an individual in, walking them through the hallway, then walking them back in. Or if a victim comes in or someone wants to report a crime and they need to interview them, they're having to walk them back through, crossing the CJIS boundary for the building. And I'll let Chief Mundell speak more to what that is. But walking them through staff, being able to see what's on monitors all the way back to an interview room, and then walking them back through, while escorted, still able to see things that they shouldn't necessarily have access to.
Yeah, while you're here on this slide, Chris, I think this is a good slide to really capture the building design and how it's laid out. So the left side of the screen is your west tower, right side of the screen is your east tower, and right directly in the middle where you see your lobby and your records and your garage, that was the former bank drive-through. So again, they try to make this building into a police department, and that just poses a lot of operational challenges, how it flows, how you interact with people, and how a news station designed would kind of solve all of our design adjacencies that you need to be really functional, operational, and safe.
Upper level, as Chief noted, the two towers. On the west side, again, because it was split, that's where investigations exists right now, along with evidence storage. Evidence storage being on the upper level isn't ideal, as people have to walk through the building, bring things up because of the limited nature of access and the older configuration of this space, evidence needs to be left outside the door until it can be checked out in the hallway. This also serves as the training room for the facility, also serves as the case investigation area for the building. So if the investigators have cases they're investigating and they've got materials up on the wall as they're trying to work as a team to solve a crime, and the training is happening the next day, that all needs to come down and be put away in a secure location. And then have public come up the stairs, come in, leave, all that stuff has to go back up to continue to work.
Yeah, if I could comment here a little bit more, Chris. The evidence storage, this isn't the only evidence storage we have in the facility, because we're kind of landlocked in a way we can't expand that space anymore. It doesn't house oversized storage, or doesn't properly store it, so we have to have that offsite, especially hazardous materials or large objects, let's say mattresses, even pieces of sheetrock. We have to store that offsite in a different secured location, so it makes operations a little bit challenging. We certainly do a fantastic job of maintaining that chain of custody. However, it's certainly not efficient how we're booking evidence and storing that offsite. So that design right here, you can't really expand that anymore, because over here, where the white area, there's no second floor there, that's your roof. Moving over to the left side of the screen, the meeting room, that is our detectives' case room, so to speak, or it's a makeshift case room. However, those that have been in our station and have been on the second floor, this is where we hold our public meetings. And it's a very poor operation, because we literally have to take everything down, hide it secured so it doesn't compromise any sort of investigations or building security. It's just very not efficient. And again, our new station design would have those meeting spaces immediately accessible right up the lobby.
If you use the word CJIS, will you just explain what that is and what's the requirements of it?
Sure. CJIS is Criminal Justice Information Systems. So Minnesota BCA and the FBI have strict regulations on who's in your controlled space. You have to go through security testing, fingerprint, background checks to be authorized in that space. And secondly, you have to actually have a business need and a purpose to be there. So no one sitting on this dais, city administrator, really nobody up here has access to that space without being escorted. You have to have that business need. So for example, our custodians, our building maintenance, they have that unescorted access. So to bring people into the space, they have to be constantly under escort. So as detectives would maybe bring a victim through the station, they have to keep them under escort to get to an interview room. There just happens to be one in this top left part of the screen, that second floor. It's a soft interview room. There's a different sort of interview room on the first level, but again, it runs people through, or it escorts people through that controlled space where we have a lot of operational information and intelligence that we have to really just alert people that we have public in the building and we're walking them through to conducting an interview. So it's a controlled space that you need to escort people through, is what CJIS is.
The east tower is noted where 911 services are right now for Rice and Steele County. They are in the process of moving out. It was originally early summer of 2026. That has been updated from what we hear to fall of 2026, and we continue to monitor that. The site, so again, the building, the staff parking behind the fence, and the gate with staff. So there's only one way in and out for officers right now. Not necessarily ideal. Typically you want 2 ways out, just in case something gets blocked. And then the old garages where they store vehicles and equipment. One thing with this site, the building was built very close to the street. I think we're 25 feet off of Pearl Street here. We're less than 25 feet off the west side, which causes a problem as there's no buffer, security buffer for the building. There's no nothing to stop a vehicle or to go through the intersection. You could walk up to windows and see staff. There's very minimal things that stop people from walking up to the building effort.
Chris, I got a couple more things to add.
Yep.
The police department is used a lot for child exchanges, when you have separated parents. They feel more comfortable if there was something in the past that they want more safety, they do that at the police department. Without us having really a public parking lot, they do it right off the road, and little kids are getting pulled out of the cars and walking the road, and it's just not ideal for parents to be doing that at this site currently. Similar to fire, we do have our SWAT truck. That's built into the programming of the new construction. Is the SWAT truck is not on site. That is stored somewhere else, that if the SWAT team gets a call out, the officers respond to the police department, they get their gear, then they gotta get over to where the SWAT truck is at, get that thing fired up, and then get into the call. As we know, just like fire, every minute counts. If you have a situation the SWAT team's coming out on, it's probably pretty serious. So that time that we're losing, having not enough adequate parking at our current facility is definitely a need.
Chris, can you go back one slide? Chief or Captain, will you answer this question? You talked about a soft interview room, and then on the other side, on the first floor, there was a hard interview. Will you just talk about what's the difference and what's the needs, and we know the location, but
Yes.
what are you using those for?
These are just phrases that the police lingo, but a hard interview room is something that's more just a desk, 2 chairs. I'm gonna get a statement from you. The soft interview room is set up, it has a couch, kind of like a coffee table, and it's just a little bit more of like a living room setting. Generally what we'll do is, if we have a soft interview type situation, it'd be, say, a rape victim, sexual assault took place, they're very emotional. You don't wanna just walk them into a cold room with just a table and 2 chairs and say, hey, what happened? You need to make them a little bit more comfortable as much as we can at the time. Also with child victims, we do a lot of interviews with child victims, different things that's happened to them. And again, we want them to feel comfortable and take them to a soft interview room. Unfortunately, that should be something that we have right off the lobby. As you see, we have to walk them, either take them up the elevator, walk them upstairs, or walk them halfway across our building to get to that one room. And just our current facility that doesn't allow any interviews to take place off that lobby.
Thank you.
So a little more depth and pictures that correspond, again, the public lobby, shaded in red there. Again, there's no interview rooms or conference room, family conference room directly off of that space. So as noted, people need to be escorted through the building to find those rooms to do work.
Yeah, Chris, this is a big problem here. Can you imagine on your worst day, either you, your wife, your daughter, grandchild has been a victim of a serious crime? You have to sit in this public lobby waiting for an officer to come in off the street while other people are maybe at the counter trying to get their car released or pay an impound fee or ask a question. So the reason why this is a huge deficiency is it doesn't really answer or take care of our victims. So we need a station that's designed so you can quickly move these persons off of that public access. Our records personnel who's at that desk, during business hours can move those people quickly into a secured space where they feel safe and private.
Administration area, again, somewhat segregated from the rest of the department for privacy and HR needs, but really part of the patrol area as well. The conference room, the one other conference room that exists right now really exists next to the chief's office. And that acts as the roll call room and just general conference space.
I'll just comment on that as well, Chris. The roll call room is pretty small. If it's just night shift where we have 2 or 3 and not sergeant, it's okay, but when we have our all work days or we're game planning an operation, that gets very tight very quick. It's also something that's being used quite often, and as you said, a lot of times the chief will either meet with staff or members of the public, and that's generally the area he uses. Or we use as captains, and a lot of times it's being used and we don't really have a secondary spot to take somebody. So that is definitely undersized.
Space continues to be carved out. There's storage right outside of the one bathroom that exists on this area. So wherever there's a nook, they've found space to store equipment it needs.
Hey, while you're here on this slide, Chris, I like that arrow on the top of the screen here with the red, the highlights. So that's that administration hallway. It kind of loops around our patrol division. So I think storytelling is very powerful. And over the course of my career, there's been several instances where we've had to bring in several people in custody. They may be a suspect, they may be a victim or a witness. We're just trying to sort information out. We have really nowhere to secure them, so to speak, or try to keep them private so that they're not sharing information and kind of interfering with the investigation. So there's been several instances in our career where we've actually lined people up in this hallway here, which you're on this slide on the left. We've spaced people out, tried to separate them every 10 feet, just ask them not to talk. And we've done that wrapped around that whole patrol division. And so you're gonna see in some future slides the need for a holding cell or holding facility. That is one definitely absolute need that is gonna kind of solve a lot of our deficiencies and safety issues in our station now. And again, I wanna iterate, it's a temporary holding cell. We're not a jail like the Steele County Detention Center is.
But Chief, I guess, so you don't just ask them to sit in the chair, you have to have someone one-on-one?
Absolutely, yes. Well, you may be able to keep an eye on 3 or 4 in sight. You don't want to leave them unattended. That's hoping that they're cooperative. And you got to be a little bit careful about putting cuffs on somebody who's just a victim or a witness. So there's definitely some operational challenges here. Typically it's 1-for-1. But then can you imagine this happening on a night shift where you may only have 2 or 3 officers on patrol. We have to protect the scene and we have to protect our in-custodies.
And also your office staff, they're right there working.
Or if that would be maybe your Monday through Friday office staff that's in the building, but if it's that late night hours, those people aren't here, and to call people in and get them into the building in a quick time frame is gonna take at least an hour.
It's tough when we have, they're sitting right at our officers' desks at the chair, separated, but they're talking, and a good investigation, you need to keep out of sight, out of mind, or out of hearing distance, and to get good statements, because we don't want people to interrupt that investigation that we're doing. And a lot of times when we have, Chief and I had an incident where we had a shooting and we had 5 people sitting in our patrol area in this roll call room, and they're talking, and we're doing the best we can, but it really jams us up where it's basically one-on-one because we don't know who the shooter is at this point, or who's the victim, who's the suspects, anything like that. And when it comes to taking somebody in custody, you can't just take all 5 of them to the jail because we don't know who is really the suspect at this point. So we need to kind of have time to sort through that in that investigation phase, and that's where that holding area would be very beneficial to our current facility.
Again, patrol area, this is right next to where administration is. That space is getting tighter as time goes on. Workstations a little bit smaller than what someone would ideally want to do their work. But again, because of some of the holding areas and other areas, this area is commonly serving dual purpose as well.
And this is currently at max capacity for the amount of staff that we have.
And then this visual here is very good for the public to see that this is actually that doorway at the far end of the picture there. That's coming from the lobby. So they're walking, this is the siege space. They're coming through our patrol division to get to an interview room. That shouldn't be that way. These interview rooms need to be quickly accessible right up the lobby.
Chief, I know this is just a little bit of a side note, but I know you've noted to me before that people want to put up pictures of their family. of staffs, it's their work desk, and now you have people walking through, and so there's that violation or a little bit of being exposed.
This is their workspace, they spend a lot of time here, and yeah, they do wanna be reminded of their picture of their family, and, it's hard to keep their lives a little bit private when it could be public through there.
Investigations is noted, upper level, there was a portion that was down on the lower level that's been moved to one of the rooms. The sheriff previously occupied mainly because there were no windows. Those people were working in a basement essentially, so those people have been moved up to give some sunlight, access to daylight. But again, as noted before, this is that large meeting room / case room. There is not a segregation of that use, so again, not the most efficient way to do your job when you're working on a case and you have to take everything down and do that.
Yeah, this is our current training room. You know, and the detective offices are on the left. You see those doors? So if we're having training and they're not in training that day, it's a big interruption to their daily operations. They're walking right out into whatever we've got going on there, taking calls, things like that. Also, just kind of going back to the HVAC system, every single one of those offices has a space heater plugged in. That just keeps those offices warm in the wintertime. It's freezing in there. It's just the zoning, since it's been added on and kind of changed so many times, it's tough to keep the temperature at a comfortable level.
Again, in custody holding and interview rooms, we've covered that, but these are pictures of those spaces and where they exist. Again, red lines and dots, just exhibit areas where people have been held when needed, when multiple individuals are in custody, throughout the building.
The top left picture, that's our hard interview rooms. That's the room that we use. Like I said, there's a table and some chairs. So that's where we'll do a lot of interviews or kind of hold people for short times when we're trying to figure out what's going on. As you see in the new plans, a holding cell has a bathroom in it. If somebody is being held here, and they need to use the restroom and they're in handcuffs, we have to try to get the handcuffs in the front or whatever it may be that they get most comfortable so they can use the restroom, which is very tough. And then we gotta follow them in the bathroom, make sure they're not locking the door and we're having to wrestle around with them there either. So that new programming with the holding facilities and having a bathroom in there, they would be, handcuffs would be taken off and they could stay in there and be a little more comfortable than sitting in this room with handcuffs on.
And this here's also a good picture of what, to illustrate how we've really tried to make this building work over the years. So this interview room, it could be for the victims, witnesses, suspects, but take note, there's plumbing lines in there. It's got poor HVAC, there's heaters to keep their space. It's an exterior facing wall, so it doesn't have good heating and cooling. There's an electrical panel in there, as you see. And when we have somebody that's a little bit out of control, and we deal with them people quite often, this is the safest place where we can actually tuck them without continuing to have to fight. But there is no really safe way to secure a meeting, like lock the door and step out. There's no way to do that. We have to physically remain with these people so they don't harm themselves or interfere with our building.
As noted, evidence storage, again, up on the top level, and then the garage, previously shared with the sheriff's departments and currently now police is used occasionally for large items, but I do believe large items are also stored in other facilities when needed.
Yeah, we've kind of hit this a little bit already, being on second floor, and it's tough just to get, sometimes we have multiple pieces of evidence. And just think you're hauling up, you're going through your whole station, hauling up maybe fentanyl pills or powder, and just you're you have that chance of exposure all the way up through there. If we have a stabbing, we got bloody clothes, things like that, that's going all the way through your station to get up there, which is not ideal. It should be right off of the main area where you pull up your squad and you get it in there.
Health and wellness throughout the facility, primarily fitness occurs in the basement. The locker rooms are smaller than what they need to be and don't have the ventilation to keep clothes in a dry environment. If they're damp, they stay damp and they get in the locker. The picture here with Chief in it is one of the safes, is working as the defensive tactics training room right now, mainly because that space didn't exist in the building, and this is available space now that the sheriff has moved out. And then lastly, storage. Again, storage wherever you can find it along the infrastructure. There are areas of the building that just are falling apart. The water leaks in certain areas continue, as well as some old finishes that are just in failure. The last item is the fly strip here. Because this building has been noted before, right underneath the stairs here in the lower level, there's a sewage ejector. The purpose of that is because the building elevation is lower. All the plumbing drains to a lower area than what the service in the street on this corner of the block is. So that you rely on that to pump your sewage out of the building. And it has failed. It has not had necessarily good sealing in the past, which led to the sewer flies in the building, or tend to be almost a yearly event at times.
I'm gonna put a little, explain this slide here. There's a video with it, but. I can start by introducing this slide. So this is the, basically, was once the bank drive-through, and it's been retrofitted to be the 4-car secure garage sally port. It's a way to bring people into custody, out of public view, and have some sort of little bit better controls. So this, you'll see there's actually water coming out of that wall, and there might be a video to play with it, but this was an exterior portion of the west tower, again, that served as a bank drive-through. And we occupied this building for, I don't know, over 28 years, when all of a sudden this became a surprise and we never realized it, but that drain, I believe, came from the roof, and it was a heavy rainfall sometime in July of 2024. And it had a steady gush of water, and that vehicle sitting there is actually a vehicle held as evidence, and it didn't hinder our investigation or interfere with any sort of evidentiary value of that vehicle right there, but it just goes to show this building has introduced many surprises over the course of the years.
The next slide, I'll just preface it here, Chris. This is the heart interview room. This is actually you won't see a face, so we can show it here. But it was a juvenile that we had in custody. I think that week he stole 2 cars and things like that. So we're trying to hold him there and get an interview or get a parent down there. And this is kind of what we can deal with in that tight, cramped area. Go ahead, play the video.
You're not driving like that. Take that fucking badge off, you're not shit. Fucking pussy. Grab it.
You can see how there's 4 officers in there just trying to just keep this kid under control. He's gonna tip the table over, throw chairs. You know, we have electrical panel in there, we have to secure that, because that's not a good deal to have for an interview room, but as the chief said, that was a former closet, that we've turned into our interview room, and, it just shows the need for a proper area to, interview somebody and hold them. And this is a juvenile, he's 13, 14 years old.
Yeah, so that video there is really a good example of how our staff, our civilian staff working in records or administration, just support personnel, are really vulnerable to our station. Typically, there might be just one officer one-on-one protecting this in custody while the rest of the officers are either dealing with the scene or on patrol. And if that individual chose to fight or flee, they have really full access to our building, and there's a concern with the safety of our staff. Right outside that interview room, just a few feet away, is our records division. Again, it needs to be the former bank drive-through.
So again, police program, the 22,600 square feet is what the police were originally occupying. They have gained some square footage, but as that first slide summarized, we're still short square footage in this building. And the new program need based on evaluation of what a current modern facility needs to do. So again, police station challenges, custody and safe limitations, privacy concerns, inefficient building layout, training limitations, aging infrastructure and maintenance needs. Again, didn't cover a lot of that on the first slide, but the roof, the walls, heating, there's a lot of water infiltration issues throughout this building, along with plumbing infrastructure as well. And then lastly, officer well-being and support spaces constraints, which is not only a police officer item, it's also firefighter items. And something not even thought about probably 5 years ago. It's a fairly new thing that's being addressed in both services and needs to be addressed in both services and facilities. So how we approached finding the right size. We worked with staff and public safety experts to define the operational needs. So again, late 2024 and most of 2025, we spent programming this building to make sure that one, it was the right size, and one, it met the needs, but it also allowed for some future growth. So they don't get built, and in year 10, we're looking for an addition already. We're planning these for 50-year buildings plus, but at the same time allowing for future growth when that needs to happen. Toured peer facilities to understand what works and what doesn't. We did quite a few tours of buildings, mainly to see what works well and what doesn't. We asked every station, regardless if it was a new area or a remodeled area, what doesn't work? And they were able to identify things so that we can make a list so that we can have the best of the best when we make this facility function the most efficiently it can. Identify and evaluate multiple potential sites and layouts, as covered in previous presentations. We looked at a lot of sites and landed on the 2 that we have for the reasons that we'll speak to in future slides. Narrow the site's best met the needs and cost disruption, and then develop conceptual layouts only after sites are ready.
Chris, before you move on, can I just note to the audience that we spend a lot of time, about a last council meeting, I believe it was, talking through every single site and every angle of a site. And so those slides are on our website or even on our council, our study session, but people want to see those slides in detail. So we're kind of going over fast on those site selections, but we did spend a substantial amount of time going through, I think, about 30 different sites and turns and renderings of it. So I just want to note that for the public that's interested in sites, a little more detail.
So again, noted facility tours, the main goal was plan for today's needs and future growth departments in mind, to see how hardening and security of facilities works in a modern facility, how health and wellness is addressed, what OSHA best practices look like in the new facility, training opportunities in the new facilities, dignity of in-custody individuals and witnesses, and how that's accomplished in new facilities, and then secure and appropriate storage. So again, toured your facilities. The 9-6 tours were facilities we had either visited before or revisit because they were doing, did things the best. Not necessarily the way the patient was defined, but how they dealt with maybe a specific item like holding or mental health or interview rooms. They gave us examples to use when we started programming the facility for Owatonna. Previous tours, again, we did quite a few rounds of them. These again were facilities, specifically Minnetonka and Egan, they did it well, but not as good as the ones that we looked at as well. Fire, same deal. 9-6, we retoured Roseville and Burnsville, and then previous tours of other stations that again had features that were somewhat nice, but they didn't do them as well as specifically Roseville and Burnsville did in their configurations. So takeaway is addressing outdated and cramped facilities, creating modern functional spaces, and building a stronger community through new facilities that serve the public better. So site selection process. Key criteria were emergency response times. Again, we've talked about that centrally located, very critical for fire that we'll get to, but also critical for police to be somewhat centrally located. While they are out on patrol, there are times where people in the station need to respond as well. So not necessarily placing them on the outside skirts of town doesn't necessarily mean geographic coverage across the city, both sites are able to accomplish that. And then use of city-owned land to minimize impact on community. By using city-owned property, the city is not required to displace any of the community members. Making the best use of taxpayer dollars, again, goes back to city-owned land. You're not having to go out and purchase additional land or homes. And then long-term flexibility and opportunity to expand. The sites that are chosen offer that ability for both facilities. So again, as I noted, this diagram specifically responds to the fire location at the former LEC location and how it is centrally located to the city, not only in road miles, but minutes traveled, and specifically for fire at the moment with the way that the crew is made up right now with on-call and full-time. It becomes even more critical because your on-call need to come to the station first before they can respond, which adds additional time. Again, as Charlie and Eric can speak to, those two on-duty staff respond first, but they may be waiting for those additional staff to get there to respond to whatever the incident is.
Just before we move forward, Chief, I know this is not only important to our fire operation, but this is emergency response to our police too. And I know centrally located downtown is pinpointed by our fire isn't quite as critical to the police, but can you just speak to why it's important to have the operation centrally located or somewhat centrally located?
Certainly, it's very simple. Mr. Zimmer kind of mentioned it, but it just gives us the best strategic location for the best response in all quadrants of the city. And yes, we're on patrol. We're not on patrol. There's times where we're all at the station. There's times where we have our detectives that are working out of the station. Myself and the captains are at the station. And it just puts us in the best strategic location in the city if we're just kind of right near the heart of downtown.
Thank you. And part of my goal of this presentation is to answer some of the questions that have been out there so people get the right answer. And there's been discussion of put you out by 26th Street or put you out on the west end. Can you just elaborate a little bit of why that isn't a great location for our police department? I mean, pretty much what you just said.
You look at your kind of vulnerabilities. If we're going to be put on the way northwest side of town or the way north side of town, what about our students at the high school? That is a long response time to get to the high school in case there's an emergency there. And that goes to anybody. The west side of town, most of our residential is north and south, southeast, southwest, so just being centrally located is your best plan overall. I have seen police departments in other communities where there's no room for growth or no room for a building site, so they are on the outskirts of town. But the response time certainly is significant, and it also actually, I would say, poses it poses hazards to the community by going fast through town or fast all the way across town to get to a site. Just for example, why not Leo Rudolph Park? Well, could you imagine the folks living on Lamont Road and police cars going high rates of speed, even just to get to the downtown area? So not only just strategically the location, but look at the response runs and the time needed to get around town.
Thank you, City Administrator Tuma. I think also there's people that don't have transportation. So when you're centrally located, we have people that walk up to the police department routinely. And if you're out on 26th Street, that can be quite the jaunt from their residence or where they're staying to get to our facility to get help. So being centrally located assists people that might not have the means like others to be mobile.
So again, as noted, we reviewed quite a few sites. Existing LEC option number 4 was chosen for fire for the reasons noted previously. But we did look at numerous sites for everything. West Hills campus originally, as noted, was going to be a joint facility. We split the facilities apart mainly because fire really needed to be in that location as noted, but it still works as centrally located for the police department. So why separate police and fire is noted, protect response times, use of city-owned land, make responsible use of funds, again, through city-owned land. You don't need to buy, purchase additional properties or offset houses by buying those properties and moving individuals to other locations. Selected sites then were fire station at the current law enforcement center site, along with some property that's owned across Pearl Street. And then police department at the West Hills campus as noted prior to this presentation. So again, fire station at the current LEC site, centrally located for fastest citywide response, reduces travel time for both crews, on-call firefighters, use of city-owned land to control costs. Police station at West Hills, space to build a modern facility with room to grow. And I would add, has the necessary buffers that a modern facility has. Improved layout for safety, security, and operations, and supports efficient access across the entire city. So, early diagram, but again, new police station, orientations changed, buildings reconfigured over time. But again, this was just a test case of would the facility fit on the West Hills campus. And as noted, we were going to, as with this, fix the interchange there of Gunnell and West Circle Drive, along with add some sidewalks for pedestrian ease that don't exist right now. And fire, the city owns property across Pearl. We'll be closing Pearl to make that work. A couple diagrams just investigating how that was going to work. Since another property has been purchased, as those property owners approach the city, if the city was interested in buying that property. So the new station, approximate cost is $26 million currently. Again, that's project costs, that's construction fees, testing, all the things that go into a construction project. It's not designed on top of that, it's not contingency on top of that. That's an all-in cost right now with current estimates. So apparatus phase, modern apparatus phase, high response apparatus section here. We'll get into the middle section here, but that's decontamination along with gear storage on the future slide here shortly. Staff area on the main level, training, that EOC area that we discussed, that really is a hardened area that would survive an E4 tornado or a disaster similar, and then a fitness area for the firefighters.
Chris, if I could just have a minute, I want to point out behind, you place behind 703, Chris, for me. Right there, you see an open bay, and we've been asked if that's expansion or why, why are we building it bigger than what we need? There's nothing in that. That allows us for our drive-through bay. So as we respond with 9703, which is our first out engine, we're allowed to come back in without having to move another piece of equipment. So that full drive-through bay would stay open to allow us in and out access.
And second level is the dormitory area. What's labeled as mezzanine will function for both police and fire training area. Reconfigurable walls in an area where they can create scenarios. Some of those training areas that they've created with plywood will no longer be needed, as they'll be able to do that with the movable panels, insert smoke bombs, and conduct training accordingly, like they're answering a response in a house. Additionally, the walls that exit into the bay or accessible to the bay will have a variety of windows, doors, balcony, so that they can practice just about every scenario they're going to find themselves in the city of Owatonna responding to a fire. Additionally, there's a training tower, which currently doesn't exist. This again is a stair tower, so they can practice responding to some of the taller buildings in town. And how that looks, they can rappel down from the top. Again, various scenarios that they don't have the capability of creating right now necessarily without going to that specific area in town and doing it there on site. So decontamination. Existing facilities on the left, new facilities on the right. The zones, red, orange, yellow, green, goes from highest contaminant, so red, to lowest contaminant, green. Eric, I don't know if you want to walk through the existing facility?
Yeah, we can do the existing first. So red would be the current app bay where our turnout gear is stored. Number 2, the small square there, that is the shop. That's where we wash our gear. So, Rainey, I think you asked what happens when we come back, right? So we
Yes.
pull the trucks back in, get the gear off the trucks, wash it in the shop, dry it in the shop, hang it back out in the app bay. So it never goes from dirty to clean, ever. It's always in that contaminated area. Number 4 is, we call it the back garage, just another vehicle storage space. Once again, always dirty. It's not highlighted on here, but there's our gear storage, Chris. That room right there is our spare gear. So we wash it in the dirty space, we bring it into our office space, be stored it for spare gear. So when it's clean, when we're semi-clean, we have to go upstairs through the living quarters to our showers to hopefully get a shower, which tracks all that stuff right up to living quarters. The new station plan would be everything gets brought to the red bay on the left of the screen here, gets brought into the orange section, gets cleaned up. We can get a shower in this orange section. And then by the time we get through the yellow sections, we're into the green, we should be mostly clean. You can see Chris was in the middle section there circling the top square, that is gear storage. So that room is made for storing our gear, keeping everything contained to that room. This is just best practice of new fire stations. We currently don't have the ability to do that.
And a big key component of this new station would be the HVAC unit. Because our gear, even our trucks, even the equipment, even everything down to the saws we use, continue to off-gas when they come back from the scene. And that means they continue to release everything they've absorbed. This new station would have the ability to have a pressurized system in the HVAC that allows that off-gassing to take place in our gear storage, but all those fumes and all that air is being exchanged at a high rate to allow it to actually fully leave our station. To add that to our current station would be extremely costly.
You know, on that, that was one of the things that really impressed me at the Burnsville station. They had two trucks that had just gone out on a call, and you couldn't smell the diesel odor. Then when we were on another part of the tour, the truck had come back, and I asked the firefighter, how long has this been in? He just pulled it in 30 seconds ago. And there was no odor. And then you look at where our turnout gear is right now in our station. It is,
Right in the path.
it is wearing the exhaust fumes 24/7.
It's just, you know, it's very evident if any of us, and even the public stop by with the doors open after a fire, when we're all cleaning up. And we shut down the station for the night and we go to bed. We can walk downstairs and everybody knows there's a fire. Everyone knows that smell, and that's because it's not being released from our station. Good, Chris.
So again, just some imagery of what the new station will look like for the fire station. And then police station, again, total project cost currently at $35.5 million. This is that lower level that we spoke about on the tour, the garage pull-in. So again, entrance here, and a fallback entrance exit that's built into the south side of the building. Training area, so defensive tactics, fitness area, adequate showers, adequate locker room with proper ventilation. Not spoken a lot about, but police need decontamination as well. Responding to a call, they may get blood on their uniform, someone might throw up on them, any numerous things. They may get drugs, as fentanyl becomes more and more of an issue, they need to get cleaned off. This is that area that they do that, they'd be able to pull in and then just walk in here. And then general storage. And then the upper level, so again, that entry, the art center is somewhat across from here. Main conference room, training bay, so a dedicated area now. This can be subdivided, so if there's a press conference or a smaller meeting occurring, you can have a secondary meeting, or you can enlarge it into one area. The Sally port, that SWAT vehicle storage and large evidence storage that we talked about. But again, Sally port, secure, this also serves as the storm shelter for this building. It is required by the building code for police as well, which comes directly into that holding area. So efficiently get people in custody, you can set them in, book them in. There's a release point here for someone who maybe was pulled over for a DWI or is just being released back into the general public. But appropriate interview space as well. So again, they're not ever leaving the confines of this area to be out in the staff area. General staff space, break area, and then patrols in green. Evidence storage, so again, we've got that processing room now, the intake, so officers can bring it right in. It goes directly into the storage area. Doesn't have to sit out in the hallway any longer or sit on a main level before it goes upstairs. Investigations, administration, records, and some general support space.
Guess we point out the interview rooms up on the top where we have those sitting.
So there's an interview room here, and an interview, victim family interview conference room here, along with a interview room here.
And those are secure rooms, they walk in.
Correct.
So I don't know if this is Chief Monday or you, Chris, without going into specifics. One of the challenges at our current LEC is the proximity to the street and a car being able to penetrate the building. Up here at West Hills, you're going up, potential for a car to be a projectile again. What safety pieces are we putting in so that would, I don't want to say diminish, but make it safer than what we have now.
Our current station location is very vulnerable to vehicle traffic for just somebody ramming into the side of our building. Mr. Zimmer mentioned before where people can walk up to our windows. The current design with the topography of the hill, that administration side, north side, is actually elevated, so you already have a natural cement foundation buffer. Where there has to be a little bit more engineering is in the front records area, where there's already some, in the design plans, there's some little bit more softer landscape appealing features where it actually would help protect that building from motor vehicles.
Okay, thank you.
And then in addition to that, the road's just further away, so we're rerouting the road a little bit.
So Chris, will you just point out where we were walking today? We came up the hill to the right?
Yep, started in this
Paul?
corner, so we were down here at the street intersection, walked up. This is the corner that's in the current drive right now. So this goes down the hill, the peak of the hill's in this area right here.
And then the Art Center and City Hall to the,
Cross up here. So again, some imagery. Again, the entry to the police station is taking its inspiration from the Art Center, as well as some imagery here showing the hill and the topography that the chief was speaking to. So these are the offices, and we've dropped off in grade quite a bit already. So we've already created that natural buffer. And then just quite a bit of space, and all the landscaping and potential berms are not shown just for clarity in the rendering, but those continue to be developed during the design process. There will be a fence around the parking down here as well, so that that maintains secure, but again, just shown for clarity purposes. So again, we were down here at the corner of State Street and Circle Drive. So this just shows if we were to take all of the trees out. Again, we're working on preserving a few of the trees that sit up here. But this is initial plantings on day one when the facility is built. This is about 5 to 6 years of growth. And again, some of this depends on the size of tree we purchase for construction. Bigger trees come with bigger costs, but that may be something council wants to consider. That we need bigger caliber trees, and you can start with a little bit of a head start in areas that we want to shield.
Chris, when you are on that one, will you just show the berm and the fence? I can see it in the image, just to make sure folks, I know some of the neighbors are here and
The
concerned.
berm's right here, the fence is right here. – 15 to 25 years growth, you begin to not see the facility anymore. And then full grown plantings, again, it's fairly well shielded from State Avenue, sorry.
I think it's just good to note, when you talk about the berm will help with neighbors in the area, with us driving the back parking lot or coming out, headlights not shining right at their house, we don't wanna disturb them. With the berm, there's also some shrubbery on top, which will grow a lot quicker than even the trees, so that should help shield, that traffic and that back there.
So again, slide from the previous presentation, just showing the new joint facility that we were originally planning, the new facilities, and then just cost comparisons of what it looks like to remodel the existing facilities. Again, that 60% rule, when you start to approach 60%, doesn't necessarily mean that you need to build new, but it is a good practice in the industry to start looking at whether or not it makes sense to invest those dollars in existing and reconfiguring existing and adding on to existing, rather than starting from new. So you'll see the cost comparison there. First option is 97% of new, 82% of new, and 75% of new. So I know a question that's been asked, what's the risk if we reduce the budget? Number was arbitrarily chosen at 50 million, which is fairly significant. You're almost reducing the entire scope of one facility at that kind of reduction and not meeting the needs. I would say that is true if it's 10 million or 5 million. You're reducing significant scope. Recent meetings with staff, the task force and the steering committee, we just did another review of the program, and there really isn't a lot of extra space for quote-unquote future staff. There's 810 square feet built into the police station for future, and there's 365 square feet built into the fire for future staff need. We'll really be the building for the current need, and the current need should be adequate for years to come with that availability of some additional spaces to grow into.
Chris, if you don't mind, I'll take this one.
Yep.
Just to kind of catch us up where we're at, I spoke about it in the opening slides that in March 2026, the city council had a public hearing to approve to move out to go out for bonding, not to exceed 65 million. And I just want to note that this sets the maximum limit for the future bonding. It doesn't say that is what we would bond for. This process still allows for continued planning and the design. It did not authorize us any construction. It did not authorize us to finalize the project. And these estimates are really just an engineer estimate. And so we won't know that true number until this project goes out to bid. We have the numbers up there, what they are, what the engineer estimate is with the two together at 65. But again, it said not to exceed 65 million. Since then, we know we have a reverse referendum that was successful. And so with that, we wanted to take a little bit of time and tell the full story. I'll come back in the next meeting and give a staff recommendation on what to do or how to pursue next with the next steps. I just want to close and then give you guys a chance to ask any questions that you have or that you're hearing out there. One of our goals was, I think, all our project teams, all our staff, say that we committed to really working hard and putting in a lot of extra time to come up with a project that met our current needs and our future needs. And that was our cheapest plan. We've been told by the public several times, and we hear them, to do this within the means or do this as cheap as you can, but if it's worth doing, do it right. And so with that is one of the reasons why we have been leaning on using city-owned land, because that 61, 65 does not include land purchase. So if people are uncomfortable with 61 million, you can just add a number to the top of it to add that land in there. So I think that needs to be noted, that that's one of the biggest needs that staff has really dug in to try to figure out how to best reuse city-owned land that's being respectful to the West Hills Commission or West Hills campus and providing sources. And someone said to me once, it almost anchors our operation up here even stronger by having a police station up here because we've owned the property for 50 plus years probably, and this just anchors another operation to it. And I think that was the intent of why we bought the property, is to use it back in 1974 as a campus for to preserve the history, but also as to use it as a operation center for a government operation. So with that, I have to tell you and thank the staff and the council for all the time that you've put into this, which is hours, over the last several years of rolling up our sleeves, digging in, asking hard questions, going on tours, understanding what's best practices, what does Owatonna need to serve our community and take care of our core services and take care of our staff so we can take care of the community. And with that, I still will move forward with telling you the plan that I've presented to the council and to the community is our cheapest plan and our plan that meets the needs. If you move one of them, you're either gonna make the price go up or you're gonna take away the needs. And so we have not had a solution yet that is better than what we're offering, that meets the needs and keeps the prices where it's at. So with that, I'll turn it back to council if you have any follow-up questions for us.
Any questions from council? Kate?
Is there an opportunity to sell some land we purchased near the,
Can you move your microphone, please?
is there an opportunity to sell some land near the current police station with this new design? Is there gonna be unused parcels?
No.
That will utilize everything we have.
I've got a question, John. Let's say it comes in at this 61.5 million. That's it. We don't say, gosh, we can spend 3.5 million on this or this. We're gonna do the bond at 61.5.
That's correct.
Because this bond is specific for fire and police. It comes in at 61, that's what we're bonding for. We're not bonding for 65, we're bonding at what the bids come in at.
That's correct. And we're also working on our financial management plan, on maybe how to tier this, because we've heard the impact might be too much for 1 year. So we're also looking at options to say, is there a way that we can tier our bonding to be able to level this in? It won't change the price of the project, but it would be an opportunity to not have the hit all in 1 year.
Thank you.
Maybe we can take a break. I know a couple council members would enjoy a break if we
Yes,
could, and then
sure.
I think we have Troy that would be presenting.
Our next portion starts at 6:15. Audience members, we've thrown a lot at you. Please feel free to contact City Administrator Tuma, anyone on staff, City Council. We appreciate that this is a big ask. 65 million, there's no way around it. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It won't get cheaper. It'll get more expensive. But if you've got questions on anything, this will be on the site. It's on the site now, the website.
I believe it's on our website under our agenda for the study session, but it'll be moved to the project page on the main page of the website.
Get done.
Kevin, I just want to make a comment. What was powerful for me is looking at the building new and remodel, and I don't think it's an option to do nothing. But we're talking 52.5 million to remodel our existing facilities that are built in 1906 and 1968. That's a pretty powerful statement. I just don't see that we can sit back and go, let's kick the can down the road. It's a big number, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
To build something that you can look at and go, hey, we can expand it, we can move forward. I think that's important.
All right, we will take a break until 6:15. Thank you, everyone.